So you are thinking of starting a business here in Kenya? Let me be brutally honest with you. Most of you probably will fail. Why? Because you probably would underestimate the challenges you will face here. Just because it's an African country, it doesn't mean it's very easy to start your business. I've seen many people pack their stuff and leave and go back home to their home country. And to be also very honest with you, I also made a lot of mistakes myself, and this is why I'm making this video for you now. My name is Marvin. I moved 2 years ago from Germany to Kenya, and I thought I had it all figured out. And in this video I will share the 5 biggest reasons why people fail, pack up their stuff and go back home. When I first came to Kenya to start my business, I thought I had it all figured out. I had some capital, I had the vision, I was hungry, I had the ambition. So I was just ready to tackle everything that comes my way to make my dream possible, to achieve the things I wanted to achieve, and to make a good amount of money here in the country. But all of this was without actually realizing how difficult it will be and how many challenges I will actually face. Like probably many of you, I also had only in my head that I will follow my dream, I will make good amount of money, I will maybe create some employment, build something meaningful, and live in a place where I feel like I belong. But I quickly realized that the dream alone won't make this happen. So the first thing I understood was that I didn't spend enough time to understand the market properly. So when I came here first, I brought a lot of ideas with me, but without understanding the local market. I tried to do my research, so I figured a couple of things out. I saw a couple of markets and areas with like potential, but in the end, the ideas I brought with me were still from a very Western perspective. So the things I thought of were like building solutions that Kenyans don't actually need. So now being in for 2 years, I understand how important it is to actually deep dive into the culture first, like understand the people, talk to the locals, maybe take the matatu, the local buses here. You need to really dig deeper and like spend a year, 2 years, sometimes even 5 years to actually find the proper product. Because even now I'm at this point, I tried a couple of things very early on, and now I understood that I have to learn even more about the market to find the proper solution for it. Another thing I wasn't properly thinking about is actually the amount and the difference of challenges I will face here in Kenya. When I think of my time in Germany, of course, you have a lot of paperwork, you have a lot of bureaucracy, you have a lot of hurdles, so you need to figure out a lot of things too. But in my mind, when I came here first, I was like, okay, I will just start, profit immediately, and I can just make my sales and make my money right from the beginning and the get-go. But this is just not the case, because you will face different kinds of challenges here. For instance, to give you a couple of examples, first off, when you work with the locals together, they have different ways of working than I was used to. So they have different ways of working, first of all, in pace, a different understanding for things, maybe a different mentality. Maybe they also don't take things too seriously sometimes, at least from a couple of examples I found. There are also like, of course, a lot of good people that are understanding the value and are like pushing through to make the vision possible. But oftentimes you still are facing these kind of challenges. So you have, first off, working with people is different. Second off, if you want to open up a business and get all your licenses, sometimes it's just much more difficult than it needs to be, because, for instance, when you want to start manufacturing, you need a bunch of licenses to do this, to realize this. They need to like test your products depending on what niche you're working in. So it's just, I would say, honestly, the same amount of bureaucracy I was used to in Germany. So I just observed a couple of startups when I supported them, when I helped them, and I saw like how much actual paperwork and like bureaucracy is involved here doing business in Kenya. So just expect things not to be much easier just because you're here, because there will come more and more challenges you are not ready for yet, and you will figure them out along the way if you're resilient and strong enough to push through all of them. Another thing I wasn't quite aware of, but luckily, like subconsciously, I was working on this quite a lot and like very heavily in the beginning, was how important relationships are actually here in Kenya. And I think this also applies to many other African countries, or like many other countries in the world. And I think this applies to many countries in the world, and even in Germany, of course, relationships are needed, and they push you even further depending on the people you know. But I understood here that this is, I would say, 10 times, 100 times more important if you know the right people and they trust you and like you bring them value and they can bring you value in the end of the day. But for me, I was networking in all industries. I was talking to different kinds of professionals, different business owners, different people from different walks of life here basically. And this helped me as well to figure out a bunch of things. So whenever I have now like questions within all these different industries are people I can reach out to. They can give me their knowledge off the top of their head and they assist me with things. But what probably could happen if you're not really taking it seriously, because here in Nairobi or in Kenya, you cannot build a business if it's really a business that like influence the local people or like influence the Kenyan market. You cannot build it 100% from your own room or from your office, from whatever. You need to be on the ground as well. You need to meet the right people, because people here are the most powerful thing in business. So at least what I realize, if you know the right people, you can make things happen very quickly. And if you don't, things can be very costly and take a lot of time for you. And this is something I didn't know the value of my networking efforts back then. I can really appreciate now the time I invested into networking, into meeting people. And this is why I'm also, once again, are in this cycle and like trying to meet all these amazing people that we can help each other out for different kinds of things. Therefore, what you are risking if you're not thinking of these lessons when building your business and like coming to Kenya and building your business here on the ground, it can either cost you more money, it can also just cost you much more time. And in the end, the worst thing that could happen, what I saw a couple of times and heard a couple of times from other people, you can go home faster than you think. Because as mentioned, I heard a bunch of stories of people that came to Nairobi, that came to Kenya, wanted to start a business, and just had no clue how anything works here. They spent all their money, invested their money in some kind of things, but they could leave as quick as they came already. But the good news for you is you don't have to fail. It's not a necessity. It's like in any other country you're doing business as well. You just have to push through, learn all these things, be aware of whatever could happen to you, be resilient, and just do proper research, like spending time on the ground here, like observing and talking to your ideal customers, your target audiences, talking to them to figure out their needs without just coming with the mindset of a person from the outside, a person from the West, from wherever you are coming from, that you can actually make better decisions. And then still along this way, just don't give up and maybe get some help from people who are experienced in these niches or these industries that can just help you to navigate the challenges you are not aware of, because there will come many of them. So you don't have to fail. So for me, it took now 2 years to understand these things and like many, many more things that are part of this. But I'm quite happy that I even was able to be this resilient, to push through, to like walk through all these things, make my mistakes, try different things. And now I can say that I'm just having a much better understanding of the market, even if it's still not perfect, because things evolve over time and you always learn new things on the way. But now I would say that I'm slowly getting to the point where I'm actually aware of the things on the ground, what people could need here. I saw so many different solutions that people brought over here. So now I can actually figure things out much better. And another thing that I figured out as well is that I had to create a different source of income for myself first before I can actually build something properly and meaningful here on the ground, because it will take time eventually, even if you understand the market. If you start a business in Germany or in the States, the guarantee that it takes off in the next 3 months, 6 months, a year or something is almost close to zero, because you start making some revenue, but it doesn't mean that it will sustain your whole life. And the same applies here in Kenya. And this especially if you're new to the country, if you're new to doing business here on the African continent and in Kenya in this case. So I think it was very important for me to understand as well that I need to make my money for now outside of the country, or most of my money, to then venture in slowly into different kinds of businesses here. I mentioned before at some point I work with a couple of startups here as well, but I was not depending on them anymore, because before that I created first a different source. And then I was focusing, okay, what can I do and provide here in Kenya now? And I'm still on the outlook for the proper and best solution for business here, what I want to bring, what my impact will be. I'm just saying that these 2 years helped me a lot to figure out what actually could make sense here. And now when I hear people talking of different opportunities, I can already like give a couple of insights to a lot of different markets, a lot of different industries, and can connect people with the right people they need as well. What makes things easier for you, what makes things easier for me. Now to sum it all up, if you are thinking of making very fast money here, if you are thinking you can make money if you just come and bring your knowledge from the outside with you, you will need to adapt to the market. You will need to understand what actually is needed, and then you can start making money and having a good impact profiting from it, creating jobs, and building your dream out to venture into a business here in Kenya. So I'm saying I just wanted you to know all of these things, that you are aware of what will face you, that you are not running blind into anything, that you can just, from the starting point, you have a bit more of awareness of the market, you observe more things, you maybe read more newspapers, you maybe watch more news and talk to more locals, and maybe spend time with your customers, potential customers, to understand where they are in their life, what pain points they happened. Yeah, and then I think you will be more likely to succeed while building your business here in Kenya. So now drop me down below in the comments what you think about doing business here in Kenya or in any other African country, and how different it is from the country you're from and what challenges you faced. I'm very keen to learn about it, and watch some of the other videos I placed right here that are about Africa's developments, different business opportunities here on the ground, and about the journey of me moving to Kenya. Thank you so much for watching.